Hello and welcome. My name is Jay, and today I will be cracking open the events of the next chapter of Old Thot Next Door, Chapter 6. For those unfamiliar with Vernita and Friends, the novel Old Thot Next Door is a gripping fable balancing the human condition and soap opera-esque action. I would like to apologize, also, for my absence since our last endeavor. I was thrown into a dungeon and had no earlier opportunity to escape. Now that that's taken care of, I will summarize the previous chapter, Chapter 5, then move on to the events of Chapter 6 of Old Thot Next Door. Before we begin, I would like to mention that this video and novel contain graphic written sexual content. If this is not to your liking, I suggest not watching this video or consulting with your steward for viewing. As always, feel free to join our Discord, link below. Without further ado, let us begin the recap of Chapter 5 of Old Thot Next Door. In the previous chapter, a tense standoff took place between Percy and Markel, with Percy questioning Vernita as to the identity of the stranger at their door. Vernita states that it's her personal trainer and that he's been helping to get her body toned. Her ruse is successful, but Percy, either in an attempt to show dominance or a last-ditch effort to get Vernita to confess, states that he'll answer the door amicably, yet with his blick, or handgun, at the ready. When Percy opens the door, he realizes that the unknown man is Markel, his childhood friend. They reconcile, and Markel offers Percy a job at his place of employment, a gym, as a personal trainer. After Percy accepts, Markel takes his leave, and Percy proceeds to grab Vernita with an intent to continue their sexual escapades. Apparently, he smacks her ass from behind to initiate this. The following day, Vernita is preparing breakfast for Percy and herself, with plans to take a hot bath and let this pussy soak in some Epsom salt, because I sure was feeling mighty sore. Between Markel and his friend, and then Percy, my insides felt like I got skin like this catfish I was about to fry up to go with these here grits. This morning, however, Percy has plans beyond Vernita's comprehension. He chooses not to stay for breakfast and guzzles orange juice directly from the carton. These two actions arouse great anger in Vernita, and she existentially reflects on her decision to marry Percy. She does love him, but her loneliness was the primary cause for their union. During this musing, her smoke alarm sounds, and her neighbor, Mr. Kilpatrick, who Vernita describes as an older white man that I think was probably in his 50s, comes to check on her. During the conversation, Vernita initially reassures him that everything is just peachy, but shortly after this, she loses consciousness. With these dramatic events unfolding, it's no wonder this novel is a blueprint for the genre of thrillers as a whole. What happened to Vernita? Let's find out. Following the events of Chapter 5, Vernita wakes up in the hospital with an intravenous drip or IV in her arm. She's disoriented and confused, not even knowing which hospital she's in. Looking around, she catches sight of a mahogany-toned man named Dr. James McKnight, and she scanned Dr. McKnight up and down, and ooh child, he was one sexy hunk of a man. I was getting so hot and bothered just thinking of how delicious this boy looked, and my eyes quickly jetted down towards the lower half, and I wanted to see if Dr. McKnight had him a bulge. I was good at analyzing a man's size just based on the bulge. I didn't quite make out a bulge, but that was probably because I needed my glasses. Dr. McKnight informs her that the initial prognosis was a stroke, but that her vitals indicate neither a stroke nor a heart attack. When he alludes that her sickly state may simply be due to her age, she states, "Age? I might be 76, but my body still feels like I'm in my 40s. But then, now I was starting to get a bit nervous, because this was the first time ever I started to notice my vision in my left eye was extremely hazy. Usually I could do fine without my reading glasses, but now I felt like I was damn near Stevie Wonder blind." McKnight tells her that she must undergo a computed axial tomography or CAT scan, and she's taken by an older black fellow with a shiny bald head. Once upon the table, her mind races, and all of a sudden, the fear of dying filled my mind, and this weird sense of fear gripped every inch of my sexy body. And I closed my eyes shut and just thought about my life, and all the things I missed out on, wasting my time with Clarence. I thought about the future family I could have had. I thought about the future grandchildren I could have been playing with right now. At the end of the day, although I had a bunch of young guys to fuck around with, I really had nobody. There was a part of me that wished I could do it all over again. I would definitely avoid Clarence like the plague. My tears of sadness turned to tears of rage, and I was glad I did what I did when he was sick. Good riddance, I thought to myself. Lost in her sea of thoughts, the tests are suddenly over, and the doctor states, "See? I told you it wouldn't take that long," he uttered with a big grin plastered on his chubby chocolate face. Boy, he sure was ugly, but he was such a nice man. Conveniently, Vernita's close friend Alice is employed at the hospital, and after the CAT scan, they have a conversation in Vernita's hospital room. "What's wrong?" Alice asked when she noticed I quickly went quiet. "Oh, nothing. Just reminiscing, that's all." "About Clarence?" she inquired in a somewhat nervous tone. I glanced over at her. "Yeah. You miss him?" "Honestly?" I paused for a second. "Yes," I lied. "Miss him every day." Of course I couldn't let her know how I truly felt about that friend. "Yeah, sometimes I wonder what life would have been like if I had a husband for that long who I truly loved and cared for like that. Clarence was a good man. Just count yourself lucky you had someone like that for such a long time." Then, although I was cringing at every word she said, I understood why Alice felt the way she felt. Hell, I'd be feeling the same way too if I wasted my time being with a friend who knocked me across the head every now and then for not making his meatloaf right. Dr. McKnight arrives and he asks for privacy. Then, once the door was shut, Dr. McKnight's sexy ass coolly strolled over to my bedside, and Vernita declares, "He reminded me so much of Blair Underwood. I loves me some Blair Underwood, except when he was knocking that little light-skinned girl out in the Tyler Perry movie." Finally, McKnight speaks. "Unfortunately, I have some bad news, Miss Washington." In a voice no louder than the squeak of an Etruscan shrew, she asks, "What's that?" In this philosophical chapter, Vernita reflects on her life and marriage and what could have been. The realization has dawned on Vernita that her wanton behavior came at the cost of her missing the joy of motherhood. Her loneliness and lack of personal intimacy is ever more apparent during her illness and her stay in the hospital. Dr. McKnight's imminent tidings compound with her newfound symptoms, not boding well for Vernita's health in her twilight years. In the next narration, we shall find what plagues Vernita so. Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year's, and take care.